Just one moment. So I just shared this broadcast on the community post on the MVCat page. We're gonna get into it, but first, I have a list of topics of what we're gonna try to cover. Um, but first, what I kind of want to say is you know, throughout all this, something you're gonna see, and something that's kind of an important part of this is you're going to see me struggle in real time, whether it's with technical difficulties or, with just learning how to code and just applying it. Because, again, it's kind of like the main premise of the channel is to actually, I do have a background in coding, but it's very rusty where I'm kind of just, I'm teaching kind of from the ground up. And, you're going to see that, that's struggling. You're going to see it and in real time, and then I'm gonna teach it. So it's kind of like I try to prepare a little bit as much as I can, and then I just teach it. But in general, we're all going to be kind of learning together, and it's going to be to create a coding community where we can build applications and software. I think for the cause that I'm very invested into, which is against online predators. Um, but regardless of that, we're going to actually get into some topics here. Some of the topics I'm just going to read off. We're going to get into for loops. That's what we're going to get into next. For loops. We're going to get further into exception handling. We're going to get further into, we're gonna eventually. I think if we can, we're gonna kind of work on the file reader and writer. We're going to work on switch statements. We're going to work on. We're going to work with the random class. We're going to work on parsing. What does parsing mean? That means changing the data type. What does a data type mean? That means let's say you have like an integer, which is as we know, like any kind of number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a double in Java is kind of more of a decimal. That's like 3.14, and you can actually convert types into each other for the goal of what you're trying to accomplish with the program. And, we're going to try to get into a little bit of troubleshooting, learning how to kind of troubleshoot code a little bit, and a little bit of commenting and convention for Java. But with all that said, let's get into it. So for loops is we're going to cover. So basically, in the last program, what we kind of worked with was while loops. So what is a while loop? A while loop is until something is accomplished, then you're done. Until a condition is so it's like as long as this condition is true, I'm still gonna do this. Imagine that. So it's like imagine like a worker, like a bricklayer or something, right? And they're kind of their job is to lay a brick really, really well, right? And it would kind of be like a while loop that until that wall is done, I'm not done. So imagine like a worker, right? That's that knows how to lay a brick, and then until the entire wall is done, that worker's going to stop. So it's basically saying that until this thing is not true anymore, as long as this thing is true. So another word for while is kind of as long as, right? This thing is true. we're going to continue it. We're going to continue doing it. So let's kind of see an example of that, because what I'm kind of doing is I'm trying to build on the understanding that we know about a while loop to bring into a for loop. So let's do that. So if we look at this one, it's saying the default condition of this, right, is continue equals to true. As you know, this is called a Boolean. So what a Boolean is like, we kind of talked about variables and data types with those variables. What is a variable? It's basically like information, right, stored in a piece of memory. And that's kind of what we all need, even humans, to be able to execute any kind of direction. Like if you're doing shopping, right, you need to remember pieces of information in order to carry out any kind of instruction, and go through the list. And, there's different kinds of that information. In this case, they separate, like let's say it's a word. Let's say it's a name. My name's Ryan, right? That would be a string in Java. So it's kind of weird. It's like you wouldn't think of a word as a string, but it's just called a string. We can kind of look into why it's called a string. Maybe we could. Maybe we will. But it's just called a string. And if it's a number, like let's say it's like a number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's an integer. That's a certain kind of number. If it's a decimal, that's going to be called a double. And for something that is just true or false, whether something is true or false, is called a Boolean. So in other words, it's saying, is this value true or is it not? So you kind of set it at true. So then it says as long as that is true, as long as that's true, as long as that's true, I'm going to do everything in this while loop. As long as that's true. As long as that is true. But that's not the only kind of while loop, and it kind of just says is continue. It doesn't say is true. But if you look, because is continue is just there, that implies true. So this is implied true. Okay. So you could have done it this way and said it like this, but you don't need to, because all you have to do is while it's true. And you could say, you could say whether it's false, as long as it's false. Then it would wait until it's false. Or I guess it would wait till it's true. And actually in this case, if this is set to true and it's not false, then this condition is not going to work. So it's kind of like you kind of do a test of what does this condition mean. But because this is true, and then this implies it's true, then that means that this code is going to execute. So that's kind of what a while loop is. But let's just change it a bit. And learn about for loops. So what a for loop in general is instead of working until a condition is no longer true, or instead of working until the test condition is changed, it will actually have a number. So we'll actually kind of show an example of that. I kind of want to read the definition. This is a good definition. A for loop is used to repeat a specific block of code a known number of times. For example, if you want to check the grade of every student, we loop 1 to that number. When that number of times is not known beforehand, we use a while loop. So it's kind of like, maybe you don't necessarily know how much times you want to execute something. That's when you would use a while loop, because then you're not really finishing until, you don't know the amount of times it's going to take. So then it's not a matter of how much time it's going to take. It's going to matter of until a condition is changed. But for for loop, is when you do know the number. It's like, I want this to be done 7 times. So like in the bricklayer example, it would say, okay, I'm going to lay 1 brick really well, but because the for loop is telling me to do it 7 times, I'm just going to do it 7 times and that's it. I'm done. I clock out. I'm done. But the while loop is saying that until it's built, until the condition is changed, I'm not going to stop. It doesn't matter the amount of times. So let's try to see if we can find Java code. What they kind of look like in Java. Just any kind of pictures. Kind of want to find a simple example. But for this, it would be, for this code, basically what it would say is, alright, this is an integer, loop val, fair enough, end value 11, loop val is 0, you're setting it to 0, and then until that's less than end value 11, increase it. So basically, you're going to do that. What that's going to result in is it's going to do it 11 times. So let's try to do that. Let's try to actually take the knowledge that we know about while loops to change it back into for loops. So let's start with, let's just call it start. Integer, there's an int, start equals 1. And let's say int end equals 7. Let's change it to a for loop. Well, actually, let's just do it the exact way, just because I don't want to make it confusing. Let's say start. Oh, it's case sensitive. Start is equal to 1. And like the example, until start is greater than or equal just say greater than 7, or not 7, but end. Increment 1. So what's going to happen is the first time this is going to go down, it's going to be 1. Start's going to be 1. Then it's going to be 2. Then it's going to be 3. Then it's going to be 4. Then it's going to be 5. Then it's going to be 6. Then it's going to be 7. And until it's 8, that's when it's going to change. So let's just change it. One moment. Alright, so let's just do 10, say 2. This is just the program. Oh, I actually messed up the program a little bit. I typed in the wrong input. I'll just make it really easy. Just type in 1. And then, it'll just keep doing it. It'll just keep doing it. It'll just keep doing it. Alright, so this is the big part. So, even though it said, do you want to try again? 1 for yes, 2 for no. And I said, yes, I want to try it again. But the program kind of defied me because it, I said I wanted to do it again, but the program doesn't care because now start is greater than 7. It's greater than end. So essentially what that means is it's going to only execute at a certain amount of time. So now let's just put it back. Let's just put it back. I just kind of wanted to see if I could, apply it here in a way it could make sense. And let's see if I didn't break my program. Yeah, it's good. And I'm just going to get rid of this too. Let's actually save. We'll start a new project. I'm going to call it for loop. It's going to specialize in for loops. Just want to see if OBS is picking up on that. So it's going to be another window actually. One moment. Alright. Oh, but it's over this. Okay. Yeah, one moment. That didn't work out. Try that out again. Alright, that worked. Just want to make sure that's working. So, this is kind of like the standard program system out. This will just print hello world, as we can see. Well, let's turn this into a for loop. Let's call it I. Then till I is, let's say, less than 7. Let's say we don't make it a variable. And then we just increment I plus 1. So what this code will do is, see that I plus plus right there? What that I plus plus is, every time this code is executed, it's going to add 1 to it. So then I is not going to be 0 anymore. It's going to be 1. Then it's going to be 2. Then it's going to be 3. Then it's going to be 4. Then 5. Then 6. Then 7. And until it's 7, it's going to execute it. It's going to execute it. So let's just let's watch it do that. So look how much times it printed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it counted from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I actually counted from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And then once it hit 6, because it's counting up from 0, only then it's done with the app. So let's try to get further into this. Could say hello world for the you'll see what I'm going to do. So it's kind of going to be this program that's going to say it's actually going to include the number in the counter number in the output. So it's going to be hello world for the first time. Well, actually, I guess it's not going to work right, because it's going to say 1th and then 2th and then 3rd. It's not going to really make sense. I don't know. I want to kind of change it for that reason. That'll be weird. All right. I don't know. Regarding grammar, I'm just gonna take off the th. I don't know how it's gonna sound. And if I include a space, we're just gonna see what this is gonna do. So hello for the 0 time, for the 1 time, for the 2 time, to the 3 time, to the 4 time, to the 5 time, to the 6 time. So that's pretty much how this stuff works. We're going to kind of, eventually what we're going to be doing is we're going to get a bunch of examples. And, getting this getting kind of this applied to, real problems. But yeah, that's in general how it works. So you start with declaring the counter variable. You start with the condition. It's almost like the same thing, only the condition is a number. And then you're going to counter it. But let's say you want to do it a different way. If the syntax, let's say you don't like the syntax, I'm going to declare it before the while loop, before the for loop. And, let's say I'm going to change the counter to when it counts after. Hold on. Beta is less than. This thing keeps popping up. My is less than or equal to 7. Is there an error for? Fry is less than 7. I call this MV code. Yeah, actually, I don't know. I'll actually get back to that, but there's a way to do it shorthand. But until then, I'll just do it this way. Where just int I equals 0, and then I is less than 7, and find in the scope. Yeah, it's defined right here. I have 3 people in the chat. Alright. Okay, I think I know what it is. I think I just forgot a semicolon here. Yeah, so it's kind of other ways to break it up. Yep, this is a credited course. No, it's not. Hello for the 0th time, the 1st time, 2nd time, 3rd time. So again, just generally the idea is, pretty much you can change any while loop to a for loop. And, essentially the idea, pretty much all you need to know for now is a while loop kind of works until a condition that is true now is no longer true. And what a for loop does is it doesn't care about whether the condition is true or not. It just will do it a certain amount of times per what the variable is and the counter is. Yo, someone already made a troll account of MVCap code? What is this? I almost want to make them a mod for that. Wow. I respect that. Nah, I don't know. But, yeah. So now, kind of want to get into another topic. And that's switch statements. So, a switch statement if you remember, if-then statements, kind of similar. Kind of waiting for it to load. So this is kind of a good example. Where, in this case, oh, actually, do I have that pulled up? I'm actually showing an example here. Just one moment. I just want to get this blown up a little bit. So in this example, this is what a switch statement is. So right here it says, it's declaring a variable to be equal to 10. Whatever switch means, n. In case it's 10, do this. In case it's 90, do this. In case it's -3, do this. And the default, if it's none of that, do this. So I kind of think that we should build our knowledge up, kind of review a little bit of if-then statements, because that's very related to this. It's kind of like a next level if-then statement. So we're going to kind of use what we know about if-then statements to understand what a switch statement is. Just one moment. So let's just try to create an if statement. But again, before even that, going back to what an if statement is, if you remember, is, let's say actually a good example is the other code. It's actually in the other code that I used. This is the calculator that we built. Where do we see any if-then statements? So it's kind of saying that right here, this is an if statement. This is an if statement right here. If operation is equal to 1, then do this. If that operation is equal to 2, do this. So it's kind of like, as the user's typing it in, it's kind of like it'll be programmed, it'll take the user input, because it's supposed to add, it's going to add it, it's going to subtract it, so it's 1 for addition here, 2 for subtraction, 3 for division, and 4 for multiplication. So this is what an if statement is. So it's kind of like saying if a condition is true. So if you notice, there's 2 equals here. So the two equals is different than a regular equals. If I were to take one equal sign away, this is an entirely different thing. So you kind of would think, all right, if operation equals 1, then do this. If operation equals 2, like what's with the two equal signs? Because one equal sign means an assignment. It means that I'm assigning operation to equal 1. But you put another equal, it's a question. It's basically, every time there's two equal signs, think of it as, is operation equal to 1? Is operation equal to 2? Is it equal to 3? That's basic. It's a question. It's saying, is it equal? So this is a good example of an if statement. And if you're asking about where is it then, it's within these curly braces. So if this is true, do this. If this is true, do this. And that's kind of very similar to a switch statement, where if we go back, I'm going to try to go back. Now this is just a website, this is not mine by any means. The switch variable is 10. If it's 10, do this. If it's 90, do this. If it's -3, do this. So let's actually, let's try to change these if statements, just for the sake of it, to switch statements. So how do we do that? Let's do that right now. I'm going to try to get both of them on the screen so that we can kind of learn that way. Let's see if we can do this. No, I don't want to use that one. Alright, so let's try to change this. So we're going to change it from an if statement to a switch statement. So in this case, what would be the switch variable? Well, the switch variable is already assigned. So see, it says n equals 10. Here, operation is going to be just whatever they type in. So, one moment, let's do this. So instead of even having this, it would just be the switch variable. And instead of another if then statement, it would just be a case. So then it would just be case 1. Case 1. Then do this. Case 2. You don't even need this anymore. or this. Case 3. So pretty much you don't need anything, you don't need any of this. And then case 4, which you don't need any of this. Really any of this. And it should do the same thing. So let's actually try to see what happens. We'll start it again. Let's say 1, 1. What I want to do, I want to add them. One moment. Saying 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. That's probably not correct. Alright, so solution is equal to first plus the second number. Is that not the result? How is solution 1? Hold on, let's just see if I can figure this out. 2 plus 2. Let's see. So it's multiplying. So for some reason it's multiplying. Okay, so I think it's a syntax issue. Is what's going on. Let me see if that's what it is. No, some reason it's executing this code. So this is actually a troubleshooting. This is kind of the troubleshooting part of programming. So I'm gonna kind of, I suspect that this is running. This part of code is running. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in a message here. Is this running? So let's just see what happens. 3. So this part of code is running. So it's kind of confirmed. So now what I know, I don't know why it's going right to multiplication, but I know that for whatever reason, this piece of code is running. Case 4. You have to figure out why. Because if it's 1, so it's kind of a way to diagnose a problem with programming. So we found out that even though I'm typing in a 1, 4 is what is coming out. Alright, well, another thing we can do is we'll just try to get confirmation that if this is running, then I guess it's saying that operation is equal to 4. Is that true? Is operation well, actually, I'll just figure it out. Operation operation. So is it 4? Alright, let's just see what operation is. 3 plus 3, and I'm putting in a 1. Is it running? Operation is 1. So operation is 1. And the solution is multiplying it. Yeah, I don't know why. So if operation is 1, why would that do that? So it's clear that operation is 1. I think what's happening is it's cycling through them. But yeah, instead, I'm actually gonna go. We're just gonna make another program, and then maybe when I get back, I'll figure out what is going on with that. Learnable switch statements. Oh. Oh wait, actually, hold on. Let's go back. I think one of our people figured out what the problem is, because I think I did forget to put in a break. Yeah, there's no breaks here. Not sure if I need a break at the end. Let's just see. Three plus 3. By taping a 1, 6. Okay, so yeah, so an important part of the syntax. I guess it wasn't there. But yeah, this is an important part of it. So we finally got the program working. So I'm actually going to let's actually just enlarge this again. Just one moment. So yeah, let's just run this code again. Do you want to try it again? Yes. But this time I want to subtract it. So 3 minus 3 is 0. Do you want to try again? In what operation? Let's try division. 1. See the first number, second number, now multiplication. And that should be 9, but because we put all that other stuff in, you know, this code in, it'll still run, but we don't really need that. But this is kind of a method though that of kind of how to troubleshoot code, where if a program isn't doing, let's say a program isn't doing what you want it to do, you can go back to where you think the line of code is running, and you can kind of play around, and then it'll kind of tell on itself where you can make it send a message. So then if these messages are going, then you know that this was running. So some reason, this was running despite typing in 1, but we found out that was because of a break. But we actually found out because someone in the chat actually helped us. So thank you, X. But yeah, so I was about to move on actually. We got that figured out. So we're gonna kind of move on to make another example of switch statements. I actually think I already made that program, right? Yeah, I did. All right. Actually, probably should learn. We should probably learn more about the breaks statement. So I guess generally how these work is, you would start with a condition or expression. Is OBS getting that? Nope, it's not. So in general, how this works is it starts with the condition. Then if this condition's false, it'll go to 2. And if this is false, it'll go to the next one. And it'll just kind of keep doing that until it'll go to the default. But I think that you needed a break statement for it to work properly. Then you go on to statement 1. So then if it is a 1, then this piece of code would execute. Or if it's 2, this would execute. If it's whatever n, this would execute. And if it's none of any of this, then the default would execute. And we're going to work on that as well. So let's do that. Just one moment. I'm actually gonna get this out of here. Actually, just for visual. Just one moment. I'm trying to get everything set up. So, I'm actually going to use an example. I'm actually going to use an example of the names in chat. Well, I just want to make sure it's showing properly. So, I'm actually going to use the names in chat to make the switch statement. So let's make a string variable called username. Yeah, I'll use your name. I'll use your name. I'll actually make it. Okay, actually, I'll use your name as a default name. NVCap showed. NVCap showed. Why not? Yeah. Switch variables username. Alright, so in case the name in case the name is, I don't know, let's say Brenda. I'm going to print out the username is Brenda. Yep, then I need a break for that. And let's say the username is InVCAP_chode. Let's copy this. Say it's InVCAP_chode. Yeah, coding's a lot about copying and pasting. In that case, the entire organization of InVCAP is a chode. Then InVCAP is a chode. That's like bad grammar. InVCAP is chode. InVCAP is chode. Let's see. And let's say, in case it's X. Because it's not like, I'm not just saying like X or whatever, there's actually a username named X that was very useful. Actually, I wouldn't have thought of that actually. That I forgot about the break statements. But let's say let's say it's X. System note print line. The username is X. Then after that, and we'll just do one more. We'll do one more. Grant. If it's Grant, then the system will print out the username is Grant. So let's just see how this works. Yep, you're in. What's gonna happen? InVCAP is a chode. Because the username was InVCAP_chode, and the switch variable was username, and in case it was InVCAP_chode, then InVCAP is a chode. So now let's type in Grant. Then it should say the username is Grant. The username is Grant. Let's say it's Brenda. The username is Brenda. And now there are default statements. I want to just make sure we get that nailed. Alright. Okay, seems simple enough. Let's take a stab at this. So this means that if none of these is true, the default is going to be system.out.println. I'm just going to assume the username is Ryan. If it's none of these, it's Ryan. It just is. So let's just say, let's just say I just punch the keyboard. Whatever. That means that if I do that, what should happen is if none of these cases work, it's gonna be. Actually, no. I think we need a truth case. We need a truth case. We gotta have engagement here. Hold on. Everyone gets a truth case. Everyone gets a truth case. You get a truth case. You get a case. You get a case. You get a case. Everyone gets a case. I kind of butchered that. I don't know. Let's just see. Yeah, we gotta make Locksmith the case. Username is truth. And then there'll be a break. Everyone look. Yeah, everyone look under your seat. You get a case. Yeah. A nutcase. Yep. Case of the nuts. Oh. So, just making sure. I don't know. Actually, what would happen if I did put 2 breaks? I'm not sure. Not sure what would happen if I... Actually, I'm going to put 2 breaks on Locksmith and see what happens. That's what I'm going to do. Hold on. Let's just see if this works. You just got to give truth the case. Alright, the username is truth. So now Locksmith, since he asked for 2 breaks, and, why not? Start working. Give him 2 breaks. Locksmith. And I really don't know what's going to happen, honestly. So my computer hold on. Oh. If my computer blows up or something, let me know. System.out println. The username is Locksmith. That has 2 breaks. So we're gonna end everything with the semicolon. So it's kind of what's true is you got to kind of make sure you're ending your statements here with semicolons. Segmentation fault. Windows crashes. Oh man. Alright, I'm gonna put 2 breaks. We gotta do it. Gotta see what happened. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we gotta see what's gonna happen. Alright. There's an error. Unreachable statement? Nonsense. Okay, so that's what happens if you include 2 breaks. Yeah. So yeah, the second break didn't work. We have to kind of give you only 1 break. It's just, the quota. But if we change the username to Locksmith, I think that repetition is key, just to hone in the principles. We got this. The username Locksmith that has 2 breaks. So I think that we have, an understanding of case variables. It's a little different than if statements. I think the question that we kind of want to ask is, why would you use what situation would you use an if-then statement? At what time would you use a case? I just want to kind of change. I just kind of want to change everything up. We'll see what the internet says about it. Why use a switch statement instead of an if? Switch statements is significantly faster than an if-else ladder if there are many nested if-else statements involved. So that's kind of one reason, I guess I could see. So, because if you do notice that back when you were using if-then statements, there's kind of a lot of unnecessary code, where, you have to type if, and then, else if, and else if, and, it's less code. And the less code you can write, the better. But trying to see if there's any reason that you would want to use an if-else statement rather than a switch. If statement. Over a switch case. So an if statement is used to choose between 2 options, but the switch statement is used to choose between numerous options. If the condition inside the block, if block is false, the statement inside the else block is executed. If the condition inside the switch statement is false. It's not really what I asked. The if-else statement checks for equality as well for logical expression. On the other hand, switch checks only for equality. The if statement evaluates integer, character, pointer, or floating point type or Boolean type. So I guess what they're saying is if we go back to the if statement, if we go back to the code, let's just go back to the code. is nothing is really compared here. It's kind of saying just in case it's this, just in case it's this, just in case it's this. But when you make an if statement, then you're comparing it to another number. Like, can you use what if you wanted to, print something out if one number is less than another number? Like, let's say number A is 3 and number B is 4. Then you can't really compare. You can't really compare anything. So it's kind of like you can't really use logical operators to compare them. Maybe we could use an example. Just one moment. Let's see if we can use an example here. Let's go back to just the basics. The if statement. I is less than, 7. And you want to include it, you want to increment it by 1 each time. One moment, hold on. Wait, I think I put this... Oh no, I didn't. I thought I put it in the wrong place. Wait a minute, I think I'm messing up here. Oh, that's not an if statement. Hold on. That's a for loop. Yeah, I don't know. My bad. Say, if is less than 7, and you would have to declare it. Essentially you know that if that's true, then what does that tell you? That I is less than 7. So it kind of tells you what's going to happen. It tells you, it can tell you how it's less or greater than certain other variables. So unless a situation where you're trying to, just depends on the situation. Like one where let's say you're trying to just match, like let's say a username and a password, that would be more of a switch statement. Because pretty much if it's not that, it doesn't really care how it's compared to anything. It just cares that if it's this, then it's this. If it's locksmith, then the username is locksmith and it needs 2 breaks. If it's truth, then the username is true. If it's grant, then it's grant. If it's X, then it's X. But for if-then statements, if the need is to compare it to other variables, that's kind of the purpose of when to use what. So far, we covered we covered for loops, switch statements. I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to end it off here so that we can then, probably just prepare a little bit and make sure we can just get into parsing and the random class variable. So basically the random class variable, it makes it so that you can work with random numbers. So we can probably make some kind of dice program where you don't know what, like let's say it kind of just gives a computer the ability to give a randomized output. So you can make like a heads or tails program. You don't know if it's going to be heads or tails, or guess a number 1 through 10. It can do that for you. Parsing. That's again what that is. The definition of it, I guess, is changing it from one data type to another. And then we're going to get more into exception handling. We kind of got into a little bit of troubleshooting. And finally, our kind of our intermediate goal we're going to kind of go for is using the file reader and writer. And what that is it makes it so that you can read like a text file, and then even it's like it would actually be able to either input like an entire file of data, and then or it could output an entire file of data. So it's actually what kind of interested in doing, and we're going to do that in the next kind of couple of tutorials. And I guess I don't really have anything more to say. Thank you for watching, and I'm just going to end it off here.